flare on the infield. That'll be caught by Holiday. That's the ball game. The Red Sox lose for the first time since the 1st of July. The 15-game winning streak has come to an end here tonight. This extraordinary winning streak, tying the franchise record earlier today. But Baltimore wins this one 5-1. The Red Sox wind up splitting the doubleheader.
The 4 spot in the first, just something they couldn't come back from. Bradish threw the ball really well. The bullpen came in, did their job also. What a fun streak. What a fun stretch of baseball this was. But now's not the time to let off the gas. Right? Day off, reset. Blue Jays coming in, go win another series. Keep this thing going.
Tell you what, I'm stunned. Stunned the Red Sox actually lost the game.
Forgot what it felt like.
That's right.
It's an interesting dynamic, though. You know what I mean, Jimmy Stewart? Like, when you think about it, team gets on a roll. They start winning. The thing kind of, you feel the momentum. It spreads throughout the team. There is this feeling that you get. And that's all it is a feeling. Because in theory, you roll out the ball on any given night. Anything can happen. So unless you have the greatest pitching rotation in the history of baseball, and the Red Sox have a good one, but unless you have the greatest rotation in the history of baseball, and you're going to beat every team every night, you have that kind of rotation, you don't necessarily go out there and think you're going to win every night. But then once you start winning, there is that vibe of like, oh yeah, we're rolling now. And the confidence just goes to show you the value of confidence, that you start to build it. And then all of a sudden you get into situations and you start anticipating good things instead of bad things. And then you start rolling, you get late in the game, and all of a sudden it's, we're going to win. And the next thing you know, you've won 15 in a row. And then you lose. And then all the air sort of comes out of the balloon. And I'm not telling you that bad things are going to happen. I'm just telling you the phenomenon of a streak. What it does for you psychologically, emotionally, confidence, all that is invaluable. But inevitably you will lose. And then we get to a day like today, July 23rd, and the streak is over. So here is what you realize on a day like today. That once the air comes out of the balloon, you know what you realize? It's not about the streak. It was never about the streak with this team this year. And I'm not telling you that you shouldn't have enjoyed it, because we hear from a lot of people who say, why are you guys being so negative? How come you're rooting for them to lose? Why do you want it to end? Well, I don't want it to end. I would love for it to go on forever. Really. Except that it's impossible. So my problem is that I'm realistic when it comes to stuff like this, and inevitably they're going to lose. And I got news for you. They're not going to lose just once. They're going to lose multiple times. It might not all be in a row, but they are going to lose multiple times between now and the end of the year. That is the nature of the sport. It's the nature of all sports, but especially baseball. You are playing 162 of them, and there are some nights where actually you just have to take the bullet and lose to reset your pitching staff or get some people healthy or give some people a breather. You get the idea. So it's not the streak. In this case, the streak resurrected your season because you were dead. So as Jim Murray said today, the Red Sox get to hit the reset button. They get to start all over again. It's like another opening day, as someone said to me recently. A new season has begun. That is good. But that's what this is about. Don't kid yourself. It's about the new opening day. So it's not about the streak. It's about the impact of the streak, the implications of the streak. What happens now? The Red Sox just got this gift. And when I say the Red Sox, I mean the whole organization, top to bottom. From John Henry, Tom Werner, Craig Breslow, Sam Kennedy on down. All the way down to the equipment guys and everybody else. New season, new opportunity. As of right now, you're in the playoffs. You've got 61 games to go. Is that what it is, Jimmy Stewart, 61? They've played 101 games now, and they got 61 to go. So what are the Red Sox going to do with them? What are you going to do with them? Do they add at the deadline? Do you believe in their ability to take advantage of this second opportunity? Do you think they're just going to default to what they were? So it's really about what they do now. If they just regress and revert and go back to being a 500 team, which, by the way, Ryan Garvin, who's filling in for Kevin Majori today and helping out Jimmy Stewart behind the glass, Ryan Garvin found something on Fangraphs a little while ago that Fangraphs projects the Red Sox to go 31-30 in their final 61 games. That'll get them to 83-79, which probably will get them in the playoffs in the American League East or American League in 2026. 83-79 might get them in. And if the roster changes, we might be able to expect more from them than an 83-79 winning percentage when they get into the postseason. They could be a different team by the time they get there. In a lot of ways, I think they're already a different team. I think Caleb Durbin today is a different player than he was at the beginning of the year. And I'm not talking about the numbers. I'm talking about the psychology, the emotional state, the makeup. Caleb Durbin was probably a tough competitive player before this. He's tougher and more competitive now and more resilient now because he just went through a brutal stretch, as did a lot of them, and came out on the other side breathing. So what are they going to do with the opportunity? So I have two questions for you. That is sort of a big picture question, but do you believe in the willingness of the Red Sox as an organization, and now I'm talking about the people at the top, in the willingness to really invest in and help this team? That's number one. Do you believe in their willingness? Felger today said on Felger and Mazz, he thinks they're actually going to do something now because they've been given it a second life and they almost have to. So, do you believe that? Do you agree with that? And then secondly, let's say there is a willingness to actually go out and help this team, help the personnel, get a right-handed bat, maybe even get another pitcher, because it doesn't sound like Garrett Crochet is going to pitch this year. So if there is that willingness, do you believe in their ability to execute it? And those are two different things. So let me just give you the obvious, easy example. I believe there was a willingness to sign Alex Bregman in the offseason. I was going to say the preseason. In the offseason, they wanted Bregman. Despite what Tom Werner said, the guy that some people wanted us to sign, the some people that wanted to sign him was you, Tom. Your organization wanted to sign him. Caleb Durbin was a backup plan or a plan B. So you wanted Alex Bregman. You couldn't execute it. Just the same way you couldn't execute Yamamoto and some of the other moves that you've wanted to make in other years, because at some point, or Max Fried, because either the price got too high or the player wanted something else and you drew a line in the sand, Breslow did, and that was it. You didn't get the player. So there is no second place in free agency. You either get the deal done or you don't. So those 2 points. Do you believe in their willingness? And if so, do you believe in their ability to execute the plan? And those are two big questions with the Red Sox. So if you're asking me, I believe more in the willingness, or as much in the willingness, than I do in their ability to execute it. I worry about their ability to execute it because when push comes to shove, you're going to have to lose a trade to help this team. The trading deadline, by definition, is a losing trade, which is why most teams don't want to buy. And then you know what they say? Well, we'll wait till the offseason when the price is better. Except that for the Red Sox, they haven't been able to close a lot of those deals either. So, 617, what was that? Did you hear that? Wow. And Jimmy, do we have that call from the final segment of Felger and Mazz? This guy was a peach. We had a caller call in terms of the confidence level in Craig Breslow to execute the plan. Jimmy, what did that guy say?
He's stiff and he's useless.
I don't know. Maybe you think Breslow is as stiff and is useless. I don't know that I'd go quite that far. He's made a couple of good moves, but you get the general premise. Do you believe in their willingness? Do you believe in their ability to close the deal and execute? Those are the two big questions. We'll kick it off tonight with Joe and Lincoln. Joe, what do you got?
Hey, Tony. So I don't know if you remember, but I called Felger and Mazz a few weeks ago before those big things started, and you said, these quadruple A players, Caleb Durbin, Stiegler, and I said, I don't think Caleb Durbin, I said he's a genuine major league player. You probably don't remember that, do you? But anyway.
Joe, does it really make a difference if I remember it? By the way, I think it's still
No, it doesn't. But let me tell you why.
Okay,
let me get my main point.
Okay, go ahead. So what's your main point?
Is that the reason I thought he was a major league player was because his defense just looked phenomenal to me. I said, this is not a AAA player, and now his bats start to come around. But my big question is, why isn't there a way to really figure out how much defense is valued? I mean, they have batting averages, but there's no such thing as really a defensive average that the fans can relate to. And it bugs me because how many runs has he saved? How many batters has he gotten out that would have gotten hits with a mediocre third baseman? I mean, a good fielder's worth their weight at certain positions. And I think he's one of them.
Yeah, so, Joe, look, they've tried to put metrics on some of this stuff, and the problem with defensive metrics is that, again, it's hard to compare what another guy would have done in the exact same situation depending on where he was standing. And, you can say, well, this guy's quicker, and all of which is true. But, there's no... It's just a really hard thing to quantify statistically and be accurate, which is part of the problem with a lot of these analytics. You can measure foot speed, you can measure all kinds of things, but at the end of the day, there are certain guys that can make plays under duress or under pressure and other guys that can't. In the batter's box, it's a little more cut and dried because the result of contact is a hit or it's not a hit. And even then now, between exit velocity and everything else. So if you believe exclusively in exit velocity, for example, you should hate Caleb Durbin. Caleb Durbin does not hit the ball hard, but he puts the ball in play and gets hits, and he plays good defense. So he's not a metrics kind of player. Now, look, again, you say he's a big league player. I agree. But how good of a big league player? He's not an all-star. And I say 4A. I mean, Cheng, the shortstop. I think Cheng plays big league defense. He might be a better defensive player than Caleb Durbin. The left side of the Red Sox infield now defensively is pretty damn good. And Contreras is pretty good at first base, and Siegler less so, but okay. He's okay at second base. So their defense has improved tremendously. I look at those guys. Here's my concern with the 4A players, and I believe most of these guys are still 4A players. I just think they've come in and done the job, and they've done things in a way that has made them better than the people who preceded them. Really, the people who've been hurt the most by this winning streak, if you want to talk about people who are quote-unquote hurt by it, Trevor Story, Marcelo Meyer. I'd put those two guys at the top of the list. The defense at shortstop, Trevor Story was one of the worst players in baseball when he was out there. If the Red Sox are making any sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, sacrifices for Trevor Story, that's a mistake. And Marcelo Meyer has been one of the worst offensive players in baseball since he came into the big leagues last year. The defense has been okay, but honestly, I think Cheng's better. So I guess what I'm saying is Cheng is hitting, I don't even know what he's hitting, 230? 240, 250, whatever the number is, better than Meyer was.
256.
And I don't even care about what he's doing offensively because he is really steady. Really, really steady. They are now 12-1, I think it is, or 13-1 when he starts. 13-1 when he plays, 12-1 when he starts. Has he done anything wrong? He hasn't made a single error yet. Now, again, if you look at some of the metrics, well, he hasn't saved them run. His defensive run value isn't as high as some other people.
Yes, he is a 0.04.
Okay, I would say just watch Cheng play.
No.
Just watch him play and look at what he's done for their defense. He's a rock. Okay, nobody has to worry about his defense is as steady as it gets. So that's where I want to start. Those questions. Do you have confidence in their willingness, and then you have confidence in their ability to execute if they do have a willingness to improve this team. Because where the Red Sox could go in a weak American League is, we could certainly debate it, whether they go 83-79 or not, which is what Fangraphs has them projected to go, 31-30 in their final 61 games. And again, it's just a projection. But if you improve the roster and get a real right-handed bat, and you get healthy in a couple of spots, you might have a shot to win the league. I don't think that's crazy. Someone said that a while back, and we marked them for it. We'll tell you who that was when we come back on the Baseball Hour. So, 617, what was that? Did you hear that? Wow.
The Baseball Hour.
In the American League, if they were to add a player who could have an impact.
If they add just one player who is an everyday player, they become World Series contenders. Because over the life of and I know that you guys mocked me for this take like 3 weeks ago, but you can shove it up your ass now. But I think the Red Sox adding one bat is the difference between they can get to the playoffs, maybe make some noise because of the rotation and the defense and all that. If you add a bopper, now you're talking about being able to actually take the American League by storm, because you just went 8-0 against the two teams that are supposedly the two better teams than you in the American League.
So that's the question now. How much can one pickup, one significant acquisition, change the landscape? Because the Red Sox are really the kind of team that it should have an impact on. And just rewind here for a second. I know Durbin has played better of late. I don't want to get rid of Caleb Durbin. Okay, let him play. It's fine. But the point is that the Red Sox wanted Alex Bregman, all-star caliber Alex Bregman, before they pivoted and went and got Durbin. The original plan was Bregman. And they've landed on their feet in some capacity now that Durbin's playing well, although there's still a lot of baseball left. So we need to see how that shakes out. But let's just say Durbin continues to play at a pretty good level, or a good level. I don't know if he's going to be a 900-plus OPS kind of guy. But that feels a little high in terms of expectation. But even so, let's just say he's a good, legitimate, everyday big league player and can hit, 6th or 7th. What if you go get another guy to put next to Contreras and Roman Anthony comes back? Now your lineup is markedly different than where it was at the beginning of the year. And again, I can't guarantee you Anthony's going to hit, but let's say you get the Roman Anthony of last year. And I know people start rolling their eyes when you do this sort of thing. Roman Anthony is 22 years old, 23 years old? Like, to sit there and say you could get a better Roman Anthony is really not that much of a stretch. He's a better player than he played early in the year. I think we can all agree on that. So if you now get a productive Durbin, even if he's not Bregman, but you add a bat and Anthony comes back, you might be pretty good. I don't know if you can win the whole thing, but, I'll say the same thing I always say. Play it out. Take your chances. See what happens. Got a lot of you lined up, so I just ask you to try to be quick. We'll get as many people in as possible because 61 games to go, and I think they're all going to be worth watching. The American League, it's that kind of year, and the Red Sox are now back in it. Joe's in Somerset. Joe, go ahead. Joe, are you there? All right, we'll put him on hold. We'll move right along. Steve is in Fall River. Steve, go ahead.
Tony, this was a Cinderella streak, but it wasn't just 15 games. There were like 21 out of 26. They had swept the Yankees before they started this winning streak.
Yeah, 20-3 in their last 23 games, Steve. Go ahead.
Tony, I looked at the standings the week before the Yankees, and I looked at the last 10 games in the league. There wasn't one team that was more than 64. So this was always going to be there. And the streak obviously propelled them. They passed everybody else.
Okay, but Steve, let me just stop. It was not always going to be there with the way they were playing. They had to play their way back into it to let it be there. Okay, so like I just this part of it that like I don't understand why everybody says I knew they were in it. They were out of it. They were out of it. We can all admit We all thought they were dead and buried. We all thought that. There's no shame in that. Go ahead.
The benefit of a streak was always going to be there, but 10 of 13 wasn't going to do what this did. 21 out of 26.
Okay, but what's your point?
All the way in. The point is, it was a Cinderella finish. The clock has struck midnight already on Seaver. We need an upgrade there. It's done. He played his role. You want to tell me we need 2 bats, and you want to tell me you're going to keep this guy at shortstop because you like the way he plays? A healthy Trevor Story will bat better than. Let's say they don't get anybody. So Story at shortstop and Anthony in this lineup. And if you can get something from Duran, by the way, he's tied for the team lead in RBIs for July. I heard this on the broadcast last night. And he's 6th in the month of July in RBIs. You can get, if this guy can get anything near what he was in May without them picking one guy up, you got Duran back to not the garbage that he is, but the player he was in May.
Okay, Steve, I'm going to let you go. I get the general point. You think they have players to make some noise. Okay, but they got to play to their capability. Duran hasn't played to his capability all year. So I've heard a lot of speculation about what positions they should add: catcher, shortstop. There is I've talked to some people who think that left field is an ability where they could upgrade. And you know who plays left field? Duran. So the RBI thing can be a little fluky. You know who led the Red Sox in RBI in the 2018 championship series? Jackie Bradley. I think he hit like 150. But he happened to have a grand slam. So does that mean he had a great offensive series or he just had timely hits? And if you're telling me you think Duran can give him timely hits, sure. I'd still would consider moving on from the player. Joe's in Somerset. Joe, are you there?
Yeah. Hey, Tony. All right. So, casual fan. I got sucked in with the 15-game win streak. I heard you guys talking earlier about, Meyer and Roman Anthony being soft. Where the hell is Tristan Casas?
He's hurt again, Joe. Casas doesn't even cross my mind. Is there anybody that even factors Casas into any of this anymore? I think he's been kind of wiped from the face of the earth. First of all, you have a first baseman now who's producing. So what are you going to do? You're going to bring Casas back and DH him? Because you're not putting him at first base. I'm not taking Contreras out of the lineup. Are you? Who is? Nobody. And, okay, you can DH him. Over who? Yoshida? Who's now hitting like he did 3 years ago? Or give me a million other guys that I could put in the DH role. You want to start playing musical chairs or whatever with the DH spot? You can plug any guy in there on a given night. Fine, no problem. I generally like a highly productive bat there, but you're going to put Tristan Casas in there? I'm kind of done with Casas. I have been for a while. I don't think anybody talks about him anymore. I'm not sure the Red Sox really have a place for him anymore. If Roman Anthony comes back and he's an outfielder / DH, where is Casas going to play?
Worcester.
I mean, to me, Jimmy, that's sort of the thing. Send him to the minor leagues. Let him get his act together. And if he gets healthy, maybe you can trade him for something.
But he's got such great surplus value.
I mean, a middle reliever or something like that. Like, what are you going to get for Tristan Casas at this point?
Nothing.
Tom in Framingham on Cheng, who has become one of my whoobies. Go ahead, Tom.
Yeah, I noticed. He's a great fielder. He seems to have quick hands, quick reaction, decent range, great arm. He seems to have all the necessities to be a good hitter. And he seems like a candidate like Omar Vizquel or Ozzie Smith. I'm not putting him exactly in that category. There's someone who starts out as light hitting, but he's got all the tools to be a good hitter and maybe should be kept and developed by the Red Sox.
So, Tom, look, he's not a kid. He's like 26 years old. He's moved around a little bit, and he is your classic 4A backup shortstop. Okay, he's very steady. He's got good hands. He's got good instincts. And, he can do a couple things on offense in terms of bunts and fly balls and sac flies is what I mean, and stuff like that. So I wouldn't expect him to hit. I don't think he's going to hit. We would know by now if he could hit and he can't hit.
No. 14 games, Hall of Famer.
Okay.
Vizquel, Smith.
But you know what I think people do overlook, Jimmy, is how bad their defense at shortstop has been for a long time. It's been bad for a while. Their defense on the left side has been bad for a while. Ryan Garvin just said when he came in here, when's the last time they had defense this good on the left side of the infield? You'd have to go back before Bogarts. He might be right.
Stephen Drew.
I mean, so we're going back almost 10 years before they had defense on the left side of the infield that was as good as it is right now.
It's good to know that after 14 games, this kid's going to the Hall of Fame.
So you guys have now inspired me to figure out where the Red Sox rank in defensive metrics at third base and at shortstop over the last 7 or 8 years. I'm going to do that during the break. We're going to bring in Sean McAdam of Mazz Live. We'll get his thoughts, too. I see a couple of you still on the line. Bobby in Worcester, Bill in Whitman. We'll try to get to your calls as well. All that on the Baseball Hour. Don't go anywhere. Ryan's got your headlines. Just now on the program, kind enough to take some time on his off night as the Red Sox have a little breather here before the Blue Jays come in for the weekend to finish up this homestand at Fenway Park. Sean, thanks for joining. And
my pleasure, Tony.
Let me start with the same question that I've sort of been asking the listeners tonight. I'm curious as to your perspective on it. But when we look at where the Red Sox now are, having dug themselves out of a hole in which they were 14 games under 500 at one point, now obviously a few games over, a couple games over, whatever it is, with 61 to go, how motivated do you think they are as an organization to add to this roster now with what I will call significant acquisition?
Yeah, I think that would be the plan. I think they realize, you've heard the talk about the Billy Bean quote about you spend the first third of your season figuring out what you have, your next third trying to improve it, your last third, putting it all together and getting ready for the postseason. But he was also a big believer in rewarding players for doing well collectively. And by rewarding, I mean adding to that roster at the deadline. And I think this is the ultimate example of that. I mean, if you don't reward a team that has gone, whatever it is, not just 15 straight, but 25 and 5 over the last 30 games, then how does that maximum apply to any team? So I think there will be an effort to make a significant addition. And I think a factor here, Tony, is the upcoming labor issue. Nobody knows what's going to happen when the CBA expires, other than the fact that the owners will lock the players out. You talk to a lot of people around the game. They're skeptical about the season starting on time. If it does start on time, no one knows what sort of system will be in place in terms of the salary cap or other restrictions on spending. So you're staring into the abyss of the great unknown in 2027. And to me, that's one more reason to, quote, go for it here in the final year of the current labor agreement.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, let's talk just quickly about that labor part of it, because a lot of people would say, well, wait a minute, if there's going to be a work stoppage, then why would you take on necessarily a contract and pay a guy who, isn't going to play if there are no games? And Sean, I think you could just as easily argue that it could work in their benefit. In other words, they do have big market revenues. And so can't you look at it and say, hey, they can afford to have a guy on their roster where other organizations can't. So couldn't this be more reason to make a trade?
Yeah, and look, to be clear, you're not paying anybody if the games aren't being played. So it doesn't matter what the salary obligations are next year. If April and May get wiped out, which I don't think is out of the question, sadly, then you're only paying those guys 2/3 of their salary from June through September. You actually could be saving money if you're taking on a big deal. I don't know that they're going to go after a Francisco Lindor who's got, $30 million coming for the next 5-6 seasons. I'm not sure that they would go to that extreme. But I think that the focus is on trying to get somebody who can make an impact, maybe on both sides of the ball. And that's, I think, why you're hearing a lot of talk about Zach Neto, who I understand his defensive numbers are down this year, but generally they've been pretty good. And he's got 17 homers and an OPS of almost 800. So given that they have a gaping hole in the middle of their infield now, he would fill a hole. They could certainly use help behind the plate. They could use a platoon partner that's better than Jahmai Jones for Jarren Duran in left field. They could use bullpen help. The only thing I would caution is I think this is the ultimate seller's market. You've got about 7 teams who are absolutely out of it and 23 teams who think they have a shot. And that's going to drive prices up even higher than they usually are at the deadline.
Okay, Sean, and at the deadline, the prices are usually high anyway because obviously the teams that are out of it have the commodities. And as you said, winning comes at a premium. Do you think the Red Sox are prepared to pay a premium to add someone to this roster?
Pay in terms of player costs or salary brought in?
Both.
Yeah, I think if anything, some of the issues they've had with some of their young players, whether it's Meyer kind of stalling out at the big league level, Campbell being a flop and stuck in Worcester while making, $7 or $8 million over the next however many years, the struggles that Roman Anthony, when healthy, has had. I think if anything, those things might convince the Red Sox, look, let's not, our mantra has been we want to be sustainable. We want to have a good player development system that allows us to compete every year. And yet you've got all these elite prospects who are struggling when they come up. So why not give up some of them, whether it be Franklin Arias or Einstein or some of the young pitchers, because there's no guarantee these guys are as good as everyone thinks they're going to be. So if you can get major league ready talent in return to help you win now, I mean, I'm not saying they're going to go after rentals and give up top prospects for a guy who's going to be a free agent at the end of this year. Right. But if you get somebody like Neto, who is controllable for another 3 years after this one, and has already demonstrated he can succeed at the big league level, then that to me holds a lot of value to them.
Okay, let me ask you another thing that relates more to the bigger picture. And this has obviously been something we've talked a lot about. I'm sure it's not nearly as dissected and analyzed on the other side of it, although I did ask, and I say the other side, meaning the actual ballpark and the team and in the organization, but maybe it is. Jared Carrabis I had on last night, and Jared gave some indication that there are even people in the organization that have doubts about, or questions, doubts is the wrong word, questions about Anthony and Meyer's willingness to play through discomfort, things like that. We have heard, Sean, a bunch of what I would call cryptic comments over the course of this season from either Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, Wilson Contreras, and most recently, Aroldis Chapman, about the dynamic with what I will call the 4A players who have come up from AAA and how it has improved the sort of vibe of the team or the culture of the team, how they listen, how they're willing to do things that are necessary to win games. Is there, any sort of issue internally with Meyer and Anthony and what they are willing to commit and do versus the guys that are there and the veteran players have taken note of it?
I think it's fair to say there are some hints at that. You may have seen maybe 3 or so weeks ago, I did a column on Meyer in which I reported that there were people in the organization who questioned, his kind of mental toughness when he struggled and his penchant for kind of being withdrawn during some difficult times, and also his sometimes unwillingness to play through minor things.
Yep.
Craig Breslow gave me an earful about that to rebut it, but I had spoken to enough people in the organization to know that there was at least some question about each of those things. And when you have a guy who is as central to the team's future as Roman Anthony is, the guy that they are clearly or were clearly building around and hyping as the future face of the organization, when he's being exiled to Fort Myers in the middle of the summer because of some nebulous, well, the training room is crowded, there's not a lot of room in the clubhouse, but occasionally there are phrases that slip through there about distractions and other things. I find it hard to believe that there aren't at least questions about both of them. How deep and well-founded those are, I'm not sure, but I know that enough people are asking those kind of questions. So there's something to that.
Definitely. Absolutely, Sean. There's got to be there's something going on there that they don't like with those guys, whether it's a maturity thing or, preparation or all those things. And look, again, I'll even go so far as to say, I'm just giving you my 2 cents here, but early in the season, I put some of it on them because they put Anthony in particular in a really tough spot. And, now Meyer...
they didn't surround him with enough established talent to take some of the pressure off.
Yeah, and there's got to be...
That would be my biggest complaint about how things started, is that regardless of how much talent and potential Anthony has, and I still think he's going to be a very good player. I don't think a few bad months or a longer injury recovery time is going to take away from that. But they did him a disservice by essentially putting him on an island and told the 22-year-old, go carry us.
Absolutely. And again, none of this stuff happened last year when Bregman was here to sort of shield them. And
right.
That has made at least at the time a big difference. Before we let you go, just quickly, 61 games to go. They're in possession of a wild card spot. They have some young pitching that's probably going to hit the wall at some point. The Crochet thing sounds ominous. It doesn't feel like he's going to be a huge factor here down the stretch, but they do have a lot of pitching. Do you think they're going to make it?
Make the postseason?
Yes.
Yeah, I would say yes at this point, which I would have never even entertained before that 15-game streak began, or even going back a little further, starting with the Yankees sweep. And this is to take nothing away from what they've accomplished. If nothing else, look at the field. I mean, the American League has about 2.5 good teams in it, and there's a lot of mediocrity in you've got Texas that's a game out of the wild card at 500 or below 500, whatever they are, 50 and 50, a game under or over, whatever it is. You've got all these teams in the mix that have obvious holes, big injury question marks, and I think one thing you can say about the Red Sox is they've been through their worst. They've already kind of hit rock bottom, and they bounce back up by virtue of this streak. So their arrow's pointing up, while some other teams may still have to deal with issues.
It's amazing, Sean. Really amazing. I don't know that I've ever seen a season like it. And I know you've done this a long time, and, I can't remember whether you covered Morgan.
Yeah, no, I didn't. I actually started the year after that, but I was just about to say that, I wasn't covering them regularly in '88. I did a handful of games, but even that was a team that was only 2 years removed from an American League pennant.
Right.
They kind of, got stuck in the quagmire for the first few months. They decided McNamara wasn't the guy, and then they go 19-1 out of the break. That's a managerial change that happened much later than this one, but that's the parallel I keep coming back to in terms of, a turnaround that can make your head spin. That's the closest comparison I can make with this team in the last, 35 years or so.
Well, whatever it is, Sean, there are real games now to play and cover in the final 61 of the season. So I think that's something that we're all happy about.
Yeah, absolutely. I was not looking forward to watching a lot of glorified spring training games in August and September. So they have saved me of that anyway.
Absolutely. All right. Listen, thank you for taking the time. We'll catch up with you again soon, and enjoy the rest of the way. Should be fun.
All right. Thanks, Tony.
Okay, there we go. Sean McAdam, again, of Mazz Live, kind enough to join us on the program. I want to apologize to those of you who have been on the line holding. I want to apologize profusely. I can't take your call now, and so that's my fault. We've run out of time. But by all means, give us a call tomorrow night. Okay, Matt McCarthy will be in for the Friday night show. I'd be happy to take your call tomorrow night. Ryan Garvin's going to get you caught up on headlines here. Is it Joe Murray tonight, Jimmy Stu? Joe Murray is in for the balance of the night. We'll see what pearls of wisdom Joe has when he comes in for the balance of the evening. We will catch you tomorrow on Felger and Mazz on the Baseball Hour.